The Grey Knights are one of the most unique and mysterious organizations in the grimdark universe of Warhammer 40K. Unlike any other force in the Imperium of Man, they are both revered and feared, standing apart from their brethren in the Adeptus Astartes. To even know of their existence is a privilege granted to only the highest echelons of imperial authority, and for good reason. They are not merely space marines. They are the Emperor's last line of defense against the insidious corruption of chaos, the embodiment of humanity's resilience against the warp's dark forces. What sets the Grey Knights apart begins with their clandestine origins and continues through every facet of their being. They are a chapter shrouded in secrecy, their deeds hidden even from those who would otherwise celebrate the heroics of the Adeptus Astartes. Operating as the militant arm of the Ordo Malleus, the Grey Knights are tasked with the sole purpose of combating the demonic, those abominable entities that spill forth from the immaterium to wreak havoc on reality. Their battles are not waged for glory or recognition, but for the survival of the Imperium itself. Their victories, no matter how grand or pivotal, are erased from record. Their sacrifices, known only to those who serve alongside them or fall under their unyielding mandate of secrecy. Every Grey Knight is not only a genetically modified super soldier, but also a potent psyker, an individual whose mind can channel and manipulate the powers of the warp without succumbing to its temptations. This trait alone makes them exceptional, as psykers in the Imperium are often a source of fear and mistrust. However, the Grey Knights take this to an unprecedented level. Their unbreakable mental fortitude and incorruptible souls make them uniquely suited to face the horrors of chaos without being tainted. Among the Adeptus Astartes, the Grey Knights are universally respected, but even that respect is laced with trepidation. They operate on an entirely different level, both tactically and philosophically. They are not bound by the same codes of honor or warfare that govern most Space Marine chapters. The Grey Knights exist in a realm of absolutes. They cannot afford to compromise when dealing with the demonic. This often puts them at odds with even their staunchest allies, as their mandate sometimes demands extreme measures to ensure the purity of the Imperium. Their secrecy is not simply a matter of protocol, but a necessity. Knowledge of chaos and the demonic is a weapon that can be turned against the Imperium. Even the suggestion of such entities can sow the seeds of corruption. Thus, the Grey Knights maintain their anonymity through any means necessary. This secrecy extends to their very existence. To most of the Imperium, they are little more than a whispered legend, a myth to inspire hope or fear, depending on the audience. Even among the Inquisition, there are those who only know them by reputation, their operations cloaked in layers of misdirection and suppression. What truly makes the Grey Knights remarkable, however, is their unwavering dedication to their mission. They are not motivated by personal ambition or chapter pride. They fight because they must, because the alternative is unthinkable. Every battle they wage, every demon they banish, every world they cleanse, is done with a singular focus on preserving humanity from a threat that most can barely comprehend. Their lives are a constant war against an enemy that never truly dies, an endless vigilance against the horrors lurking just beyond the veil of reality. Without them, the Imperium would have long since fallen to the insidious forces of the warp. The origins of the Grey Knights are as shadowy as the chapter itself, rooted in the most tumultuous and cataclysmic period of imperial history, the Horus Heresy. This galaxy-spanning civil war, driven by the betrayal of the Emperor's favored son, Horus, tore the Imperium apart and saw chaos rise to unprecedented prominence. It was in these desperate times, as the Emperor himself battled Horus aboard the Vengeful Spirit, that the seeds of the Grey Knights were sown. Their creation was not merely a response to the heresy, but a vision of the future, a calculated move to address a threat that would persist long after the immediate crisis had ended. The Grey Knights were conceived through the combined foresight and wisdom of the Emperor and his most trusted ally, Malcador the Sigillite. Malcador, often referred to as the First Lord of Terra, was a pivotal figure during the heresy, second only to the Emperor in his understanding of both the warp and the dire threat posed by chaos. It was Malcador who envisioned a new kind of force, one that could stand as an incorruptible bulwark against the horrors of the warp. Unlike the legions of the Adeptus Astartes, which had proven susceptible to the influence of chaos, this new order would be forged from individuals who were not only physically powerful, but also psychically attuned and spiritually unyielding. The Emperor entrusted Malcador with the monumental task of identifying and preparing the first recruits for this new chapter. These individuals were not chosen from the ranks of existing Space Marine legions. Instead, Malcador sought out a very specific type of candidate, powerful psychers with unassailable willpower and unshakable loyalty to humanity. Many of these recruits were drawn from across the Imperium, handpicked for their extraordinary potential, and subjected to the most rigorous scrutiny. The slightest hint of corruption, fear, or doubt was enough to disqualify a candidate. What remained was a small but extraordinary group, individuals who embodied the purity and resolve necessary to face chaos without faltering. The process of transforming these candidates into the first Grey Knights was unlike anything that had come before. Malcador used the Emperor's own genetic material to create a new breed of Space Marine. This genetic foundation ensured that the Grey Knights would inherit the Emperor's inherent resistance to the influence of chaos. Additionally, the training and indoctrination these recruits underwent were unparalleled in their intensity and focus. They were taught not only the arts of war, but also the arcane knowledge necessary to combat demons and manipulate the energies of the warp without succumbing to its corrupting influence. While the Emperor's legions were locked in brutal warfare across the galaxy, Malcador carried out his work in the utmost secrecy. This was a necessity, as the knowledge of chaos and its true nature was itself a dangerous weapon. Only a handful of individuals, even among the Emperor's inner circle, were aware of the project's existence. This secrecy extended to the selection and preparation of the first Grand Masters who would lead the chapter. These were not simply warriors. They were chosen for their strategic brilliance, psychic aptitude, and unwavering devotion to the Emperor's vision. One of the most significant aspects of the Grey Knights' creation was their independence from the existing Space Marine legions. This was no accident. The corruption of the traitor legions during the Horus Heresy had demonstrated that even the Emperor's finest warriors could be turned against him. By creating the Grey Knights as a separate entity with their own distinct chain of command and a unique fortress monastery on Titan, the Emperor and Malcador ensured that this new chapter would remain isolated from external influences and insulated from the flaws that had led to the heresy. As the Horus heresy came to its bloody conclusion, the Grey Knights were ready to take their place as humanity's ultimate weapon against chaos. The timing of their formation was no coincidence. With the Emperor mortally wounded and interred in the Golden Throne, the need for a specialized force to combat the demonic was greater than ever. The Grey Knights were not created to win glory or reclaim lost worlds. They were forged to wage a war that would never end against an enemy that could not be fully defeated, only held at bay. In their creation, the Grey Knights embodied the Emperor's final gift to humanity, a bastion of hope and defiance in a galaxy consumed by darkness. Their origins remain a closely guarded secret, but their purpose has always been clear: to stand as the Imperium's last line of defense against the unthinkable horrors of chaos. This role defines every aspect of their existence, from their methods of warfare to their ideological underpinnings, setting them apart from even the most elite chapters of the Adeptus Astartes. Where other Space Marines fight to protect the Imperium's borders, the Grey Knights operate in a sphere far removed from such concerns. Their battles are often fought in the shadows, hidden from the eyes of the Imperium's citizens and even from its most devout defenders. The Grey Knights are not interested in glory, accolades, or recognition. Their victories, no matter how crucial, are deliberately erased from record. This anonymity is essential to their purpose. Knowledge of chaos is a dangerous thing, and the Grey Knight's secrecy ensures that the broader Imperium remains ignorant of the true scale of the threat they face. What fundamentally differentiates the Grey Knights from their fellow Space Marines is their approach to war. The Adeptus Astartes, for all their valor and might, are still warriors in the conventional sense. They fight with bolters, blades, and brute force, relying on strategy, discipline, and overwhelming power to achieve victory. The Grey Knights, on the other hand, incorporate the metaphysical into their methods. Every Grey Knight is a psyker, capable of channeling the energies of the warp to devastating effect. These psychic abilities are not merely a tool, but a necessity in their war against chaos. Demons cannot be defeated by conventional means alone. They require weapons and tactics imbued with the same arcane forces that empower them. The Grey Knights wield these powers with unmatched precision, using their psychic might to banish demons back to the immaterium and to protect themselves from the corrupting influences of the warp. This mastery of psychic warfare is one of the defining traits of the Grey Knights, but it is not their only distinction. Perhaps the most critical aspect of their nature is their incorruptibility. While the Adeptus Astartes are genetically engineered to resist the temptations of chaos, history has shown that this resistance is not absolute. The Horus heresy stands as the ultimate testament to the vulnerability of even the Emperor's finest warriors. The Grey Knights, however, are uniquely shielded from corruption. Their gene seed is derived directly from the Emperor himself, and every member of the chapter undergoes rigorous training and psychic conditioning to ensure that their souls remain pure. This incorruptibility is the foundation of their entire purpose. Without it, they would be no different from the countless other forces that have fallen to chaos over the millennia. This purity is reflected in their ideology, which is both pragmatic and uncompromising. The Grey Knights do not entertain notions of mercy or negotiation when it comes to the forces of chaos. To them, chaos is not an enemy to be defeated, but a cancer to be excised. Their methods are often viewed as extreme, even by the standards of the Imperium. They will not hesitate to execute loyal Imperial citizens, allies, or even entire planetary populations if doing so is necessary to contain a demonic incursion or prevent the spread of corruption. These actions, while ruthless, are born out of necessity. The Grey Knights understand the stakes of their war better than anyone else, and they act with the cold logic required to ensure the survival of humanity as a whole. Another key difference lies in their independence from the broader structure of the Adeptus Astartes. While most chapters operate within the Codex Astartes and answer to the Adeptus Terra, the Grey Knights are closely aligned with the Ordo Malleus of the Inquisition. This relationship grants them unparalleled autonomy and access to resources far beyond those available to other Space Marine chapters. It also reinforces their unique mandate. They are not bound by the traditional hierarchies or doctrines of the Adeptus Astartes. Their loyalty is to the Emperor and the Imperium's survival, not to any particular system of governance or military protocol. As we already know, they are the only Space Marines who can stand against the demonic without fear of succumbing to its influence. However, this purity and power come at a cost. The Grey Knights are few in number, and their recruitment process is so stringent that only a handful of candidates are deemed worthy of joining their ranks each generation. At the pinnacle of the chapter are the Grand Masters, each of whom oversees a brotherhood, essentially a self-sufficient division within the chapter. There are 8 Grand Masters at any given time, reflecting the highly compartmentalized nature of the Grey Knights. This structure ensures that even if a portion of the chapter is compromised or destroyed, the rest can continue their operations unaffected. Each Grand Master is a figure of extraordinary power and wisdom, chosen not only for their martial prowess, but also for their strategic acumen and psychic mastery. These individuals are tasked with both commanding their brotherhoods in battle and ensuring the spiritual purity and operational integrity of their forces. Beneath the Grand Masters are the Librarians, who serve as the chapter's spiritual and psychic guides. The role of a librarian in the Grey Knights is especially significant due to the chapter's intrinsic reliance on psychic abilities. Librarians are responsible for maintaining the psychic wards and rituals that shield the Grey Knights from the warp's influence, as well as leading the chapter in the metaphysical aspects of their war. They are not merely advisors, but combatants in their own right, wielding psychic powers that can devastate demonic foes. Their expertise in the arcane makes them indispensable, particularly when facing enemies that defy conventional understanding. Another critical rank within the chapter is that of the Justicar. Justicars act as battlefield commanders, leading squads of Grey Knights into combat with unerring precision. While their authority is more localized than that of the Grand Masters, they are no less vital to the chapter's success. Justicars embody the discipline and focus that define the Grey Knights, ensuring that their squads operate as cohesive units even under the most harrowing conditions. Their leadership is characterized by an unwavering commitment to their mission, as well as a profound understanding of the tactical and psychic challenges posed by the demonic. Kaldor Drago, the supreme Grand Master of the Grey Knights, stands as perhaps the most legendary figure in the chapter's history, a warrior whose feats defy logic and whose existence embodies the extremes of their mission. Drago's rise to prominence occurred during a fateful battle against Mortarion, the demon primarch of the Death Guard. In the midst of an apocalyptic campaign, Drago confronted Mortarion directly, carving the name of his fallen predecessor, Geronatan, onto the demon's cursed heart. This act of defiance banished Mortarion back to the warp, but not before the demon primarch unleashed a curse that would bind Drago's fate to the immaterium itself. Since that moment, Drago has been trapped within the warp, an eternal wanderer in the domain of chaos. Unlike others who would have been consumed by its madness, Drago has waged a relentless one-man war within the immaterium, accomplishing feats that are as miraculous as they are improbable. He has slain greater demons in single combat, carved his name into the fortresses of the ruinous powers, and resisted the temptations and horrors of the warp for centuries. Despite the impossibility of his circumstances, Drago's will remains unbroken, his actions a testament to the unyielding resolve that defines the Grey Knights. His legend inspires awe and fear, even among his own chapter, for while his heroics are unmatched, his fate serves as a chilling reminder of the costs of their eternal war. Alongside Drago, other figures have etched their names into the hidden annals of the Grey Knights, such as Garradon, a Brotherhood champion whose in a selfless courage saved an entire campaign during the purging of Helios. Facing an overwhelming demonic force, Garradon held the line against a bloodthirster, buying enough time for his brothers to complete a critical banishment ritual. Though gravely wounded, his actions ensured victory and cemented his legacy as a paragon of duty and sacrifice. Then there is Justicar Thawne, whose inexplicable ability to return from death has made him an enigma within the chapter. Thawne has fallen in battle numerous times, only to reappear, unscathed, and resume his role as if nothing had happened. His resilience has baffled even the chapter's librarians and inquisitors, sparking theories that he is uniquely touched by the Emperor's will. These figures, from Drago's near-mythical exploits in the warp to Thawne's unexplainable immortality, illustrate the extraordinary nature of the Grey Knights and the sacrifices required to fulfill their impossible mission. They are not merely warriors, but symbols of the chapter's enduring struggle, their stories adding depth and perspective to the hidden legacy of the Emperor's most secretive defenders. The Grey Knights' base of operations, Titan, is itself a cornerstone of their organization. Located on Saturn's moon, this fortress monastery is more than a headquarters. It is a sanctum of knowledge, training, and preparation. Titan is warded by some of the most advanced and esoteric technologies in the Imperium, making it virtually impervious to outside attack. Within its halls are vast libraries of forbidden knowledge, repositories of ancient relics, and psychic training chambers that push recruits to their limits. Every Grey Knight undergoes rigorous training on Titan, honing their bodies, minds, and souls to withstand the horrors they will face. Titan's significance is further reinforced by its connection to the Ordo Malleus, the branch of the Inquisition dedicated to combating chaos. The Grey Knights serve as the militant arm of the Ordo Malleus, working in close collaboration with Inquisitors to identify and neutralize demonic threats. This relationship grants the Grey Knights a degree of autonomy and authority unmatched by other Space Marine chapters, while the Inquisition provides intelligence, resources, and logistical support. The Grey Knights act with near-complete independence in the field. This partnership is built on mutual trust and necessity. The Ordo Malleus relies on the Grey Knight's expertise, while the chapter benefits from the Inquisition's vast network of informants and operatives. The Grey Knight's arsenal is a cornerstone of their effectiveness in their eternal war against chaos. Every piece of war gear they wield, every weapon they carry, and every piece of armor they don is a masterpiece of sanctified craftsmanship, engineered specifically for combating the demonic. Their armory is unlike that of any other chapter, infused with layers of psychic wards, holy inscriptions, and ancient technologies that make them uniquely suited to their mission. One of the most iconic aspects of their armory is the Nemesis Force weapons. These weapons are the epitome of precision and power, blending traditional melee combat with psychic devastation. Nemesis Force weapons come in various forms, including halberds, swords, hammers, and glaives, each tailored to the fighting style and role of the Grey Knight who wields it. What makes these weapons extraordinary is their ability to channel the psychic energies of their wielder directly into their strikes. When a Nemesis weapon connects with a demon, it does far more than inflict physical damage. It delivers a psychic blow that can banish even the most powerful warp entity back to the immaterium. The creation of these weapons is a closely guarded secret involving sacred rites and psychic infusions that ensure their purity and effectiveness. Equally important is the Aegis armor worn by every Grey Knight. Unlike standard Space Marine power armor, Aegis armor is imbued with psychic wards and sanctified runes designed to repel the corrupting influence of the warp. These protections are not merely symbolic. They form an active defense against the mental and spiritual assaults that are a hallmark of chaos. The armor is further enhanced by psychic amplifiers, which allow each Grey Knight to augment their abilities in combat while remaining shielded from the demonic forces they face. This combination of physical resilience and metaphysical protection makes Aegis armor a critical component of their battlefield effectiveness. The Grey Knight's war gear extends beyond individual weapons and armor to include a range of specialized equipment and vehicles. Psycannons, for instance, are heavy weapons designed to fire projectiles imbued with psychic energy, making them devastating against both corporeal and incorporeal targets. Similarly, incinerators release blasts of consecrated flames that can cleanse even the most resilient demonic forms. These weapons are not only powerful, but also specifically designed to neutralize the unnatural resilience of warp-spawned foes. Even their vehicles, such as land raiders and dread knights, are modified with sanctified plating and psychic enhancements, ensuring that every aspect of their arsenal is optimized for their unique mission. What truly sets the Grey Knights apart, however, is their ability to wield psychic powers in concert with their weaponry. These powers range from offensive capabilities, such as unleashing searing bolts of psychic energy, to defensive measures, including projecting shields of force that can protect entire squads from incoming attacks. The psychic abilities of the Grey Knights are not limited to the battlefield. They also play a crucial role in rituals of banishment and warding, which are essential to their success against the demonic. These rituals can seal warp rifts, purify corrupted ground, or permanently banish a demon's essence from the material realm. The sanctification of their war gear and the psychic training they undergo are deeply intertwined. Before every deployment, their weapons and armor are anointed with sacred oils and inscribed with fresh wards, ensuring that they remain impervious to the taint of chaos. These rituals are performed with painstaking care, reflecting the Grey Knight's understanding that even the slightest imperfection could be exploited by their foes. The chapter's technological expertise is also crucial to maintaining their sacred armory. While many chapters rely on the Adeptus Mechanicus for their war gear, the Grey Knights maintain their own highly specialized forges and artificers. These individuals are not ordinary tech priests. They are trained in the arcane arts of sanctification and psychic engineering, allowing them to create and maintain equipment that meets the exacting standards of the Grey Knights. This self-sufficiency ensures that their war gear remains both pristine and tailored to their specific needs, free from the potential vulnerabilities that might arise from external influences. In addition to their equipment and psychic powers, the Grey Knights make extensive use of warding rituals to combat demonic threats. These rituals, often performed by the chapter's librarians or senior warriors, create psychic barriers that can repel or weaken the influence of chaos. Warding is not confined to the battlefield. It is a constant presence in the Grey Knights' lives. Their fortress monastery on Titan, for example, is encased in layer upon layer of psychic wards, ensuring that it remains impenetrable to demonic incursion. They possess a collection of artifacts and relics that are as extraordinary as the chapter itself. Each relic carries a history of battles fought, demons vanquished, and sacrifices made, and their significance goes beyond their physical capabilities. The Blade of Antwyr is perhaps one of the most infamous among these relics. It is a cursed weapon of immense power, capable of slicing through both physical and spiritual defenses. The blade is said to house a fragment of a demonic essence, which constantly whispers temptations to its wielder, seeking to corrupt them. For any other force in the Imperium, such a weapon would be destroyed immediately, but the Grey Knights keep it under strict guard as a test of their incorruptibility. Only the most resolute warriors are entrusted to wield the Blade of Antwyr, and even then, it is a burden rather than a privilege. Its presence serves as a grim reminder of the stakes of their war and the strength required to resist the insidious nature of chaos. The Titan sword, in contrast, is a weapon of pure, uncorrupted power and serves as a symbol of the chapter's faith and dedication. Wielded exclusively by the Supreme Grand Master, it is a Nemesis Force sword of unparalleled craftsmanship, imbued with psychic energy and sanctified by countless rituals. Its blade has clashed with some of the most fearsome demons to ever emerge from the warp, serving as an extension of the Supreme Grand Master's will and the Emperor's judgment. The sword is a rallying point for the chapter, a reminder of their unity and the burden of leadership carried by their highest-ranking warrior. It is not merely a weapon, but a symbol of hope, and determination in the face of overwhelming darkness. Another relic of note is the cuirass of sacrifice, an ornate suit of aegis armor said to have saved its wearer from certain death on numerous occasions. Forged during the chapter's earliest days, it is inscribed with countless wards and runes, each etched in the blood of a fallen Grey Knight. The armor is believed to amplify the wearer's psychic abilities and offer unparalleled protection against the corrupting influence of chaos. Only the most experienced and deserving warriors are permitted to don the cuirass of sacrifice, and it is typically reserved for those leading critical missions where failure is not an option. Its presence on the battlefield is a symbol of the Grey Knight's unyielding resolve and their readiness to endure any cost for the Emperor's will. The chapter also preserves a number of smaller but equally significant artifacts, such as the Liber Daemonica, a tome containing the collected knowledge of the demonic. Written in secret languages and sanctified against corruption, the Liber Daemonica serves as both a weapon and a guide for the chapter. Its pages are consulted before every engagement, providing insights into the weaknesses and tactics of the demonic foes they face. Despite its utility, the tome is treated with the utmost caution, as even the act of reading its contents requires incredible mental fortitude and spiritual strength. The history of the Grey Knights is written in blood and fire, not on the pages of the imperial chronicles, but in the unmarked graves of their foes and the scorched ruins of demon-infested worlds. Their campaigns, waged in absolute secrecy, are some of the most decisive and grueling battles ever fought in the Imperium's defense. Though hidden from public record, these engagements have shaped the course of imperial history, ensuring the survival of humanity against threats most will never even comprehend. Among their countless victories, several stand out as defining moments in their unending war. One of the most infamous incidents involving the Grey Knights is their secret participation in the Second War for Armageddon, particularly their actions alongside the Space Wolves. The planet Armageddon was invaded by the demon Primarch Angron, who led a massive army of cornate demons and world eaters in an effort to turn the industrial world into a blood-soaked shrine to chaos. While the Space Wolves led the Imperial forces on the front lines, it was the Grey Knights who confronted Angron and his demonic horde directly. In a brutal confrontation that tested even their unparalleled resolve, the Grey Knights successfully banished Angron back to the warp. This victory came at a staggering cost, with many of their number falling in the battle. To preserve the secrecy of the Grey Knights and the true nature of the conflict, all those who had witnessed the demonic incursion, including loyalist forces, were mind-wiped or eliminated. This action, though necessary in the Grey Knights' eyes, caused a lasting rift between them and the Space Wolves, whose defiance of such methods remains a point of contention to this day. Another legendary campaign in the annals of the Grey Knights is the purging of the demon world of Zoanthos. Zoanthos, a planet entirely consumed by the warp, had become a breeding ground for demonic entities and a staging ground for chaos incursions into nearby systems. The Grey Knights, led by a cadre of senior Grand Masters, launched a daring assault to cleanse the world of its taint. This campaign was far more than a standard military operation. It required the complete annihilation of the planet itself. After a prolonged engagement involving both psychic and conventional warfare, the Grey Knights succeeded in executing a ritual that severed Zoanthos from the Materium, banishing its demonic inhabitants and ensuring that it could no longer serve as a foothold for chaos. The operation's success came at a steep price, with the loss of an entire brotherhood, but the strategic importance of the victory cannot be overstated. The Grey Knights have also faced some of the most infamous figures of chaos, including Angron himself on multiple occasions. Their ability to combat demon primarchs and greater demons sets them apart from all other forces in the Imperium. The banishment of Angron during the First War for Armageddon remains one of their most well-known accomplishments, but it is far from their only victory against Chaos's champions. One particularly iconic encounter was their campaign against the demon Prince Doombreed, a warlord whose influence spanned entire sectors. Doombreed's armies had brought countless worlds to ruin, and his mastery of both demonic sorcery and conventional strategy made him a formidable foe. The Grey Knights, deploying their most experienced forces, launched a relentless assault on his bastion world. The culmination of this campaign was a duel between Doombreed and a Grand Master, whose psychic might and mastery of the Nemesis force, Halberd, ultimately proved superior. The defeat of Doombreed shattered his forces and prevented a larger chaos incursion into Imperial space. The Grey Knights have also been instrumental in containing outbreaks of chaos that might have spiraled into sector-wide catastrophes. For example, the Siege of Vrax, though primarily known for the involvement of the Death Corps of Krieg, saw Grey Knights operating in the background to deal with demonic entities unleashed by the chaos cults entrenched on the planet. Their ability to operate alongside other Imperial forces without drawing attention to their true purpose highlights their strategic importance. What makes these battles legendary is not just the scale of the foes they face, but the unique challenges they overcome. Fighting against chaos is unlike any other form of warfare. It requires not just physical might and strategic brilliance, but also spiritual and psychic fortitude. In every engagement, the Grey Knights must contend with not only the physical manifestations of their enemies, but also the insidious whispers of the warp, which seek to corrupt or break even the strongest minds. That they succeed time and again is a testament to their unique nature and the extraordinary measures taken to prepare them for this role. The Grey Knights operate in a shadowy realm of secrecy that even other branches of the Imperium rarely penetrate. To know of the Grey Knights is to possess knowledge of chaos, and such knowledge is seen as inherently dangerous. This necessity for secrecy, however, has led to some of the most controversial actions associated with the chapter. Their methods, while undeniably effective, have raised questions about the ethical cost of their mission and their place within the broader Imperium. One of the most defining aspects of the Grey Knights is their unrelenting commitment to erasing all evidence of their presence. After every engagement, no matter how monumental the battle or how crucial the victory, the Grey Knights take extreme measures to ensure that no one outside their ranks knows of their involvement. This extends beyond destroying physical records. It often involves the execution of witnesses, even those who fought alongside them. Imperial Guard regiments, planetary defense forces, and even fellow Space Marines have been purged to maintain the secrecy of the Grey Knights and the truth about chaos. This practice is not born out of malice, but out of a grim necessity. The chapter believes that the mere knowledge of chaos can lead to corruption, and they are unwilling to risk even the smallest crack in the Imperium's fragile defenses against the warp. One of the most infamous examples of this policy occurred after the First War for Armageddon, following their battle against Angron and his demonic horde. The Grey Knights deemed that the survival of Imperial citizens who had witnessed the conflict was an unacceptable risk. Entire populations were subjected to mind wipes, sterilization, or outright extermination to prevent the spread of knowledge about the demonic incursion. Even the victorious Space Wolves, who had fought valiantly alongside the Grey Knights, were not spared from this extreme approach. When the Space Wolves openly defied the Inquisition's orders to silence survivors, it created a rift between the chapters that persists to this day. This practice of eradicating evidence raises profound moral dilemmas, even within the Imperium's notoriously utilitarian framework. While the Grey Knights' actions are intended to protect the Imperium as a whole, they often come at the cost of innocent lives. Loyal Imperial citizens who have done nothing wrong are executed simply because they have seen too much. Even allies within the Imperial war machine, from Inquisitors to Imperial Navy officers, have found themselves at odds with the Grey Knights' unyielding policies. The question remains, how much can humanity sacrifice in the name of survival? To the Grey Knights, the answer is clear. To others, it is far less so. Their methods also lead to tensions with other Imperial institutions, particularly those with a more grounded view of warfare. While many Space Marine chapters operate under strict codes of honor and duty, the Grey Knights see these codes as secondary to their mission. They are not interested in building alliances or fostering goodwill within the Imperium. Their focus is solely on combating chaos. This attitude has led to strained relationships, particularly with chapters like the Space Wolves, who view the Grey Knights' methods as dishonorable and excessively ruthless. Even within the Inquisition, there are factions that question the Grey Knights' practices, though their results often silence criticism. One of the most controversial aspects of the Grey Knights' secrecy is the belief that it is not only necessary, but infallible. Their insistence on eradicating knowledge of chaos is based on the assumption that such knowledge inevitably leads to corruption. While this belief is supported by countless examples of chaos infiltrating and corrupting Imperial institutions, it is not universally accepted. Some argue that this secrecy only deepens the Imperium's ignorance of its greatest enemy, leaving humanity less prepared to face the dangers of the warp. Others see the Grey Knights' actions as hubristic, an attempt to control forces and truths that are beyond even their understanding. Their wars are fought in the shadows, and their victories are celebrated only within their own ranks. To many in the Imperium, the Grey Knights are little more than a myth, an idea of salvation that exists in the darkest moments. For those who encounter them directly, however, they are often viewed with fear and suspicion. Despite these controversies, the Grey Knights remain steadfast in their belief that their actions are justified. To them, the eradication of witnesses and the secrecy of their mission are not matters of choice, but of survival. The horrors they combat are so profound, so overwhelming, that even the smallest mistake could doom entire systems. In their eyes, there is no room for compromise, no space for half measures. Their actions, no matter how ruthless or controversial, are dictated by the cold logic of necessity. While their deeds remain hidden from most of humanity, their impact is undeniable. Without the Grey Knights, the Imperium would have long since succumbed to the predations of the warp, torn apart by the demonic entities and corrupting forces that constantly seek to undermine its fragile existence. Their campaigns have saved billions of lives, preserved vital strategic territories, and prevented chaos from gaining a foothold in reality. For the few who are aware of their existence, the Grey Knights are a symbol of hope, an assurance that even the darkest threats have a counterbalance. They represent the Emperor's will made manifest, a force that stands unyielding against the terrors of the warp. While other Space Marine chapters inspire through public victories and visible heroics, the Grey Knights inspire through their very presence, even if it is only known to a select few. As the Imperium faces increasingly dire threats, the future of the Grey Knights is a topic of speculation. The galaxy is in a state of unprecedented upheaval. The Cicatrix Maledictum, the massive warp rift that has split the Imperium in two, has brought chaos closer to the heart of humanity than ever before. Entire systems are falling to demonic incursions, and the Imperium's resources are stretched thin. Against this backdrop, the Grey Knights are being called upon more frequently and with greater urgency. Their ability to adapt and endure will be tested as never before. One of the greatest mysteries surrounding the Grey Knights is the extent of their resources and recruitment. With the galaxy descending into chaos, can the chapter sustain its numbers and maintain its rigorous standards? Their recruitment process is already among the most demanding in the Imperium, and the loss of even a single Grey Knight is a blow that cannot easily be mitigated. Some speculate that the chapter may need to expand its operations or modify its traditions to cope with the growing threat of chaos. Others argue that doing so would compromise the very purity and effectiveness that define the Grey Knights. There is also speculation about the evolving nature of their war against chaos. As the warp's influence grows stronger and more pervasive, the Grey Knights may find themselves facing challenges that even they are unprepared for. The emergence of new chaos warlords, the rise of empowered demonic entities, and the increasing instability of the warp all point to a future where the Grey Knights' mission will become even more critical and even more daunting. Their ability to confront these threats while maintaining their secrecy and effectiveness will determine the extent of their impact on the Imperium's survival. Despite these uncertainties, one thing remains clear. As the galaxy plunges deeper into darkness, the Grey Knights' role will only grow more vital, ensuring that their legacy endures as a cornerstone of the Imperium's defense.